This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. Consider this your vitamin or supplement for your mind, your heart, and your soul. Wherever you download podcasts, would you mind subscribing to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Would you be willing to leave a rating and a brief written review? It's vitally important as it helps people to be able to find this podcast. I want to talk to you a little bit about self-limiting beliefs and what they do for us in the area of our leadership. I'm going to go all the way back to the fifth grade to tell you a story that still has some impact on my life to this very hour. It was math class, fifth grade teacher in the inner city of my hometown. We had a retired Air Force pilot from World War II as our school teacher. And we were beginning in the fifth grade. That was before middle school. You were still in elementary school in those days. And he divided us up into groups for various subject matter. And there was always one subject that I seemed to be weaker in than all the others. I loved school and did very well, except I wasn't as strong a student in the area of math. And he was teaching us some new mathematical kinds of things. And he decided, in order to motivate us, based on the grade of our first test and then the subsequent 3 or 4 following tests, he had bulletin boards up in the front of the class. And if you were an A student, you did really good, you had one section of the bulletin board, and there was a big bright sign at the top of that section that said Eagles. And so those who did superior were put on the Eagles. My name was never there. Then there was a next group. They were the the B students, and I don't know why he went down this scale, but above their name and their grades was the word sparrow. And then those of us who were C's or D's, we were in the third category. And at the top of our section of the bulletin board was this one word, dodo, and then our names. And unfortunately, my last name begins with a B. And so not only was I in the dodo section, I was the first person listed in the dodo section. You might just consider me the president or the leader of the dodo section. Every day, every hour, every minute I was in class, as I looked toward the teacher, there they were, the eagles, the sparrows, and the dodos. And rather than motivating me, it demotivated me. I stayed afterward, and he tried to help me. I studied harder. My folks at home tried to help me. And I just had a block when it came to math. As a matter of fact, if you were to ask me today, now I can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. I could keep a checkbook, and I could do all of those simple kinds of things. But when math got more complicated, my mind always flashed back to a fifth grade class where I was on the board and I was a dodo. I've just pretty much gone through life thinking in the area of math that I am a dodo. And that self-limiting belief that I learned in the fifth grade, I've had a difficult time in my lifetime getting over it. Now, you may say, Dr. Ron, perhaps you need to go see a therapist. But what I'm saying to you today is never underestimate the impact of some experience in your life that has led you to have some self-limiting belief or action. Well, I've gotten past it. I've forgiven the teacher, even though I've never had a conversation with him. I've moved on. But because of that experience in my own life, it has taught me a few things about leadership that I also wanted to share with you. First off are there some things in your mind and heart today because of experiences that have come your way that you just need to set aside and remember the past is over and it ended, put a period at it at the end of the sentence, and move on? One of the things that this helps me is I was very vulnerable in the fifth grade class. I was embarrassed. I doubt there's another student from that classroom who even remembers that there were eagles and sparrows and dodos and that I was the king of the dodos. I don't imagine anyone else, unless they were with me in the dodo group, even would remember that today if we were to have a fifth grade reunion. But I felt very vulnerable in that class, as every day there I was, right up front, right on the bulletin board. But you can take what looked like a defeat and a vulnerability, and you can use it to your advantage. None of our stories are wasted. None of our experiences are wasted. There is a takeaway. There is something to be learned from every event. And that feeling vulnerable day in and day out as I walked in and out of that school classroom to see my name there with the dodos, I learned an important truth. I learned that you're going to have to become courageous. Well, I didn't know that I was courageous. But I didn't stop going to school. I didn't run away from home. I kept going. And I learn now that when I'm having experiences in my leading today that cause me to feel vulnerable, let's examine it, let's look at it, because this place of vulnerability could be the birthplace for courage. It could be the very event that God is using to help me develop courage for the future, courage for the task at hand, courage to help solve the situational problem that I'm in right now, courage to stand by principles, courage to do the right thing, courage that says, I am a woman or a man of character and I will do the right thing. That is my default position. I also learned from the fifth grade math section that you may as well admit that you don't do everything well. There are people who feel like they cannot show any vulnerability, or they can't even say, well, I don't know, because you might think less of them. Admit you don't know everything. This has been carried on in my life in many ways. There are times when you'll make mistakes. There are times when you mess up. There are times when it didn't work out the way you wanted it to work. Admit you made a mistake, admit you were wrong, or admit you don't know, and move on. Now, because I've always been in a position where people would come to me for answers for things, and as a young person, you're very tempted because your storehouse of knowledge is rather limited because of your lifespan. But there was something in my heart that thought, if I don't know, if I don't have an answer, they're not going to think that I'm a very good leader. But don't fall for that and begin to make stuff up, because if your people believe you're making things up, they will have even less confidence in you. Here I want to help you today. I don't know is a more than adequate answer for some of life's questions. There are people who will try to come and ask me a real complicated Bible question because they know I went to seminary and that I should know these answers. And there are times that I tell them, I don't know, I'll have to check it out. You see, as a leader, you don't have to know all the answers, but you know where to find the answers, or you know who to go ask to seek the answers from, or you know what sources to go and examine to find answers for the problems. Never hesitate to say, you know, friend, I just don't know, but I'll get back with you. And if you say that, get back with them. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know where to find the answer. Remember, your leadership is built on trust. People don't follow leaders because of the schools they went to or what all of the terrific things that you've done in the past. They follow you as their leader because they have trust in you. And if you break that trust and that trust is gone, let me tell you something. When trust is gone, it won't be long until you'll be gone as well. You cannot make up for lost trust. You must be a leader who is trustworthy. Well, whatever self-limiting event or thinking you have in your life, why don't you work on it this week? And rather than focusing on the negativity, try to find the nugget or the answer or that which will help you to be a better future today, a better leader today and in the future. This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, and productivity. I hope today it's been a vitamin for your mind, your heart, and your soul. Again, if you would download and subscribe Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom podcast, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave a rating and a review. Just remember, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's a more than adequate answer, but always know where to find the answers. Remember, when you lose trust, you've lost it all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.